As you know, I don't normally go for these kind of social commentary movies, but I decided to take a chance on you people, and I am very glad I did. Very quickly, if you enjoy the cut of my jib, consider hitting subscribe. Just keeps you up to date with the latest movies I'm covering, and you're going to make my day. But that being said, let's get on with this one. You People. So You People is very clearly a kind of social commentary on race relations. And these are the movies I do normally sidestep because I feel that they do get very heavy-handed and just forcing that message through. However, Jonah Hill stars in this and he co-wrote it, and I love everything that Jonah Hill does, so I was very keen to watch this one. Now, we open up on your very standard conversation about Obama. Yeah, he's gay on coke.
Does your Barack do coke to excuse his gay stuff?
Of course.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So he just has an out at the end to go like, I was on coke, it was fine.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That opening really just set the tone for this movie because it made it clear that it wasn't just taking the straight route to that message. No, it was going the long way around it. And Jonah Hill in this movie, he's starting a podcast off with his friend Mo, and they're just talking about all things culture. Race plays an important part in that. However, it's not the main focus of his podcast. It's more just about society and kind of everything that's going on, where the arguments stem from, and if they're valid or not. And we see this divide very early on the podcast between him and his co-host Mo. They're black and white, so they have different perspectives on political and social issues. Now, it's never heated, they're clearly best of friends, but it is a very healthy debate that they're having throughout the movie when it cuts back to the podcast. So with Jonah Hill as Ezra, he is Jewish, and it opens up on his family there, and they're all a bit cliche. You know, you've got the kind of sister that's involved in social media and very sarcastic towards him. You've got the overbearing mother a little bit, and then the dad that just seems pretty chill. But Ezra isn't too far removed from everything you've seen as Jonah Hill. And to be honest, the guy nails it, so it makes sense why he continues it here. You know, he is the streetwise, very down-to-earth guy that's always got something quick-witted to throw back. It is always funny, so you can't be mad at him playing this character yet again. Now, don't get me wrong, Jonah Hill very clearly has played a number of different types of characters. He is amazing at it. His name really should be in the forefront of people's minds when they think of Hollywood. This is a role that he kind of comes back to because I think it allows him to really open up. He's very awkward. We see him at his work early on. It's quite clear that he just does not really know how to deal with social situations. Like, even between him and his boss, someone he should be very familiar with.
Here he is, biggest swinging dick in the West.
There he is. You have a big swinging penis yourself there, my man.
He tries to get a little bit too familiar with and just cannot do it. Now cut to Amira. She is the love interest of this movie. She is an inspiring fashion designer. She seems very down to earth as well. Like, just cool. Like, I know that doesn't sound like too much of a compliment, but really, she's just really cool.
You don't look so bad yourself.
Are those Gucci slides?
Yeah, why? Are you trying to clown?
You know, she's got that wit about her, she's very easy to bounce off of quite clearly, and her and Jonah just work together fantastically in this movie. Like, they're both great actors, so I think it would have been the same either way, but together, they just had a very believable chemistry about them. It was really nice to see that on screen. They stumble across each other with like an accidental Uber incident. Ezra thinks it's his Uber driver, but then really it's not, and then they just get into this kind of altercation. They clearly come out the other end of it fantastically well, given the relationship, but that is the seed planted for the relationship to now blossom.
So I guess Hyacinth, whatever, looks like me since we all look alike.
I mean, honestly, fucking, you guys are twins.
Oh my God, wait, she really does look like me.
Now, Amira is black Muslim, so mix that with Ezra's white Jewish culture. You know, not only are you playing with kind of the race social commentary here between black and white, but also you've got the religious aspect. It is a rom-com at the end of the day, but you know that conflict you see in rom-coms where one of them fucks up so they don't trust each other, and then there's like a big show of love and they get back together? You're not going to find that here. What this movie does instead is it paints the families as the ones that aren't accepting. You know, these two are madly in love, they get engaged, and they are wanting to get married. So these families have to come together, and they have to agree on quite a few things, which they aren't up for doing. You know, the parents are all great in this movie. Well, 75% of the parents are good in this movie. So for Amira, her mum is quite accepting of Ezra. She doesn't really have too many issues. However, her dad, played by Eddie Murphy, which was fantastic, he's having a bit of a tougher time for this because he is all about black culture. So the white boyfriend coming in, he kind of thinks it's like diluting his family, as it were. and so he's not a fan. So with that, he is just a hard ass for Ezra throughout this whole movie. Keeps trying to catch him out, you know, he goes along to the stag do, and he's just wanting to trip him up because he doesn't feel that he's right for his daughter. Instead of looking at his daughter loving him, instead he just can't get over his own attitude towards Ezra. And then on the flip of this, with Jonah's parents, they are overly accepting. His dad is really chill, his dad doesn't seem like he really gives a fuck, whereas his mum is too accepting. You know, she's very curious about everything, she wants to know about the culture, and she asks far too many questions. You know, it starts like very innocent, but over time you can't help but just see that it's getting quite insulting now, that she's not just shutting up and getting on with it and having a nice time, but she just needs to treat her more. It's almost like Amira is a bit of an object by the end of the movie. So it's two very different treatments, but ultimately they both do come down to just not understanding the other side. And then where I said 75% of the parents were good, Jonah's mum is very, very annoying in this movie. Now don't get me wrong, believable or not, I personally couldn't say. I've not been in Amira's position at any point in my life, believe it or not. So if it is believable, I cannot imagine that it just seems very stressful, annoying to deal with, and just a little bit edging on harassment. Now, I don't know personally if that is the reality for some people. If it is, it looks horrific. But from an audience's perspective, she and her relationship with Amira is not one that I personally could relate to. And so I just found the mum very annoying with all of her questions and all of her trying. Not that I could necessarily relate to Eddie Murphy in the movie. There's a bit of a difference between the relationships, because where you get in rom-coms that the parents will try to see the good side of them, there is a moment with Ezra and Eddie Murphy where he keeps wanting to trip him up. You know, he takes him to various places, and Ezra makes the mistake of saying that he used to play basketball, so he gets taken to an outdoor basketball court and just asked to play. Now, Akbar is ready for Ezra to fuck up. Like, he is live streaming this and just waiting for some huge fuck up to have out there publicly. But it turns out Ezra wasn't fully lying. He knows how to play, and he plays very well, almost to the point of like impressing Akbar. And they have this kind of nice moment. But then following that, the relationship is just back to where it was. It's just back to ground level where Akbar has just been a hard ass to Ezra. There's no benefit to that scene. If it built on it and it went somewhere, that would be great. But he's a hard ass. Then there's that moment where you think that Akbar is going to respect him a little bit more, but then immediately following that, he's just back to his old ways. Now, I don't know what's worse, that or the fact that then you've got Amira and then Ezra's mother's relationship, where she's very overbearing and asking a lot of questions. That doesn't change. You know, there's not a moment where she sees what it's like that she's asking too many questions and has to stop. No, she just keeps at it. She's just got nothing but race at the front of her mind, as opposed to Amira as a woman. Someone that's not going to mind if you accidentally slip up, but these very direct, deliberate questions are the thing that's fucking her off, not if you accidentally made a mistake. So her heart is clearly in the right place. She's got all of the best intentions, but she's not looking outwardly. She's just looking at herself and just trying to make sure that she looks like she's accepting. I mean, she is accepting, but she wants to make sure that people and Amira know that she's accepting. And that's then the problem. So when it comes to all the cast, there really is the kind of the six mains. There is a sibling on either side, and we've got Amira's brother. He is really kind of pushed off to the side. He's almost just kind of like a mini version of the dad. He's more chill, he doesn't really care too much, but he goes along with whatever his dad's doing. And again, Ezra's sister, she's just really low-key. Like I said, she's kind of one of those kids that just kind of stays her life online. It just seems to be the norm now. You know, for a while I thought it was quite odd when you seen that in a movie, but quite clearly it's now just the reality. But her and Ezra, they get on great. She just seems to get on with everybody, you know? She's not got any issues with anyone, and she's got nothing to prove. So she just kind of floats through the movie. So again, the siblings, a little bit pushed out. They could have been used just a little bit more, maybe to challenge the parents. But instead, the parents were just given a free rein to behave how they were behaving. And as I said, for 75% of the parents, that would have been amazing. However, there was just that 1 weak link in Ezra's mum, unfortunately. But as a comedy and as a rom-com, it is a solid movie. It is very funny, witty. It is sarcastic as all hell, which you're going to expect when you know that Jonah co-wrote it. But all the actors are really good as their roles. I thought Eddie was fantastic as the dad. For a while, he was the very over-exaggerated characters because he is fantastic at comedy. Here, he is just very subdued, but does not miss a beat at the same time. I would have liked just a little bit more though from Ezra's dad, David. I really like him. When I seen he was in the movie as the dad, I was excited because, again, he is funny, he's got comedy timing down, but he is more just in the background because whenever there's a scene with the parents, it is the mother and father, and you can bet your ass the mother's the one taking the spotlight away from him. So look, with all that being said, where would I be putting you people? If you're looking for a rom-com comedy, definitely make time for this movie. It does have that social message to it, one that I think most people could relate to in some way, given that they cover a lot of different demographics, and it doesn't feel heavy-handed at any point. Like, you know what they're setting up and what they're doing, but it just works. You get great chemistry throughout the whole movie between all the different relationships. You know, Ezra and his co-host Mo are fantastic as well, because she's kind of also prepping him for his life with Amira, but at the same time they have their podcast and challenging each other, so that is also great to see. Now, there's not any kind of comic relief in the movie, but whenever Mo spoke and the attitude that she would have towards Ezra and the conversations they had was always a great time. And the movie as a whole is really cool. Like, I know that sounds really weird and I probably feel very old just saying that, but like the transitions are really cool and it has a good pace to it. The movie comes in at around 2 hours. You could have trimmed off a little bit of the fat. It works. The scenes that weren't trimmed were very funny, but see, at around the kind of hour and a half mark, you are checking your watch just wondering when it's going to pick up to that finish line. Don't get me wrong, you've got an extra half hour of jokes in there, but for a rom-com it always does feel a little bit long when they do start edging in towards 2 hours. So look, have you seen You People? What did you think of it? Please do let me know down below. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. It's just a way to let me know that you're enjoying this content, and you're going to make my day when I see that. But with all that being said, as always, thank you so much for watching.